Van Show. He's a monster on a mission to talk to lots of folks. Van Show. Van Show. Van Show. Van Show.
Hey everybody, it's the Van Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited today because we have Chris Panatier here. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Van.
Now, Chris. Before we started the cameras, you were telling us about your last name. Can you tell us what does your last name mean?
Oh man, it's a last name everyone would want to have. It's
Yeah.
Panatier, and apparently in French it means bread box maker. So it's really exciting.
Now, I don't know if this generation, or maybe the previous generation, or maybe the one before that would have any idea what a bread box is.
Yeah, I barely do. It's a box for bread.
We want to know a little bit about you, so first tell us where you're from.
Originally, I'm from a fairly small town in Oklahoma called Bartlesville.
Bartlesville.
And then we moved to Texas when I was in high school, and I finished high school in the Woodlands around Houston, and then I went to college here in Austin.
Now, Chris, we brought you on the show because you're an artist, a multi-talented artist.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm a very nice monster. Now, Chris, tell us a little bit about how did you get started in art? When did you discover that you were an artiste?
Well, I always loved to draw. That's the story you usually hear. I very much loved to draw as a child, and my parents were great and very supportive. And I always had paper and pencils and crayons and markers and everything, and I just did it constantly, and continued to do that all the way, into college. And then in college, I became the editorial cartoonist at the Daily Texan for the University of Texas, and I did that for 6 years. Now, I wasn't an undergrad for 6 years, but then I went to law school and I continued to do it there. And then I got real serious about it a few years after I graduated law school, and I decided I was really going to commit myself. And that's when I really developed the craft.
Wow! And so you're working as a trial lawyer and as an artist.
That's right.
Simultaneously.
Simultaneously, yes.
Whoa. Now, do you find any parallels between the two?
There's a lot of parallels, because being a trial lawyer, you're telling a story to a jury. So you're trying to take the evidence of the case and look at it all and distill it down into a story that can be easily understood by people, even if you have very complex scientific issues that you're talking about or medical issues that you're talking about. And so your job is to learn it all and distill it down and then feed it to the jury as a story that makes sense. And writing books is, I think, very much the same way.
Yeah? Do you sometimes, when you're writing the book, do you imagine, like, what if I was talking to a jury about this fictional story that I'm creating? Like, how would I sell it to them?
Yeah, I do think about a fictional audience like that, which is, right now, am I just kind of enjoying myself as a writer, and am I just being precious about this section, and is it really having any benefit to the reader? And a lot of times I say, no, it really doesn't, and so I have to just lop it off.
So, like, now you're also a visual artist as well as a writer.
Yes, I am.
And I'm not trying to say that visual arts is not storytelling as well, but it's a different type of storytelling.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your visual art? Like what mediums you work in?
Sure.
And like where you draw your inspiration from?
Sure. Those are great questions. I have painted in primarily oil. And then over the last few years, I've started doing a lot of illustration for metal bands for their covers.
Oh.
And those tend to be pen and ink and watercolor. And watercolor it's funny because when you're a kid, you start in watercolors. They don't give you inks, they don't give you oils, right? But watercolor is the hardest, I think, because if you make a mistake in watercolor, there's no erasing it. There's no getting rid of it. Whereas with oil, you can paint over it, you can wipe it away with turpentine, but watercolor is extremely sensitive, and I really, really like how gentle it is. And I like layering it very, very slowly, and it has taught me a lot of patience. So that's why I like watercolor.
Wow, and you know what? You're doing heavy metal bands, album covers, and you're talking about the art being very gentle.
Yeah.
I like this juxtaposition there.
Well, you know what? You actually interviewed a very good friend of mine earlier today, Lauren Ray Snow. And Lauren and I did a whole panel at ArmadilloCon about the contrast between light and dark in art, and how when you have perhaps a dark subject done in a light media, you really make people think twice about what they're looking at, or vice versa.
So wait, can you tell us some of the bands that you work for? Is that confidential?
No, it's not confidential. Most of them they're small indie like metal bands. So they're bands like Caraxo in Scandinavia, Desolated in the UK, Hogbitch from San Antonio.
Whoa.
Sorry,
No, no, that's fine.
From San Antonio.
I think if it's all one word, it doesn't count as a curse.
Oh, okay. Eyes Like Knives. I just did one for a band in Australia called Caligula's Horse.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, pretty awesome, right? So yeah, I've probably done 30 or 40 of them.
You know, I like that a lot of these band names sound like they could be sci-fi novels.
Oh, for sure. And actually, again, it's a total tie-in to writing, which is one of the reasons I love metal music is because for the most part, these people are extremely good musicians, and they're telling sprawling stories. Like they're telling these huge, just audacious stories, and then they're willing to perform it to a room of 3 people. And I just love the spirit of that, you know? And so I think there's a lot of parallels because I have also done readings to rooms of less than 3 people.
So I want to talk to you about your coloring books.
Mm-hmm.
So you've created coloring books from your original artwork.
That's right, from those metal album covers.
Yeah, how did this happen? Because I think it's a fantastic idea. Like, you know, especially if like you're a fan of those album art, or the album art, and then you're like, oh wait, I can add my own colors. I can try my hand at watercolor and fail miserably.
Well, so what I've learned is that generally if you do something long enough and you're putting a lot of work into it, people will come out of the woodwork and ask you, you know, let's just say you just do visual art. They might say, oh, can I get a print of that? Or where can I get a copy of that? And with mine, people were saying, you know, that'd be really cool as a coloring book.
Oh.
And when I draw my stuff, I always do the black and white, the pen and ink first. And I've always photographed that. So I had that to give to the bands as well as the color. And then I watercolor it and I take a picture of that. So I had all these black and white images. And in 2016, I did a coloring book called Full Metal Coloring Book. And so that one's still out there. And that was the album covers I had done to that point. And then this year I released a new one, a bigger one, and it's got really nice paper. There's a marker version and a colored pencil version.
Ooh.
And that's the album covers that I've done since 2016. So another 25 or so of those.
Wow, what a cool idea! And then people can kind of they can incorporate themselves in your art.
That's exactly
They
right.
can be like, I collaborated with Chris, bread box maker.
That's right. And actually it's really cool because sometimes someone will color one of my images and I will go, wow, the color scheme you chose is way better than what I did. and it's amazing to see. And it also pushes the boundaries of kind of, you can become a little bit formulaic when you do art, and I have a palette I like, and there are colors I like to start with or include, and it's almost mathematical how art works, where if you start with certain tones and certain colors, that is going to dictate your color palette for the rest of the art. And so I have some favorites. So mine has a consistent color palette from piece to piece, which I'd like to have, but then I'll see someone else do it another way and it blows my mind. So it's really cool to see.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank
This has
you.
been a blast.
Total
You're
blast.
absolutely Fernie's favorite guest.
Oh, thanks, Fernie.
Right? Goodbye.
Bye.
Van Show! Van Show!